On the first day of marrying Ethan Clark, I realized he was the male lead and I was his beautiful ex-wife. After divorcing me, he would achieve fame and fortune no longer crammed in this rented apartment and would enter a marriage of convenience with a bankrupt female lead before falling in love and having a pair of adorable children. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became, smashing the custom mug ID made for him. Ethan rushed over at the noise and started arguing with me. "Sarah Miller, what has gotten into you? That's my cup." I glared at him fiercely. I want a divorce. Ethan's imposing demeanor instantly deflated, his knees going weak as he knelt before me. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have lied to you. Actually, I was the one who stole the cherry tomatoes from the balcony." I fell silent. Ethan stole a glance at me and said cautiously, "That little camisole of yours was actually stretched out by me, not torn by our golden retriever. I was just curious how such a tiny thing could even be worn." My fists instantly clenched, and Ethan suddenly sported a pair of black eyes. As I bent over to hang laundry on the balcony, a flood of memories suddenly rushed into my mind. Turns out I'd been reborn and was living inside a novel. My newlywed husband Ethan Clark was the male lead in the book. While I was just the cannon fodder ex-wife in my past life, he suddenly asked for a divorce, unwilling and confused. I wanted to fight for an explanation. Yet he remained resolute, insisting on the divorce. Helpless and furious, I agreed. Then suddenly, somehow his status skyrocketed, transforming him into the town's most famous eligible bachelor. Even when I tried to avoid news about him, social media kept shoving updates in my face. Not long after, he married Stella Vance, whose family had fallen on hard times. Because Stella's family had done Ethan a great favor, their love grew after marriage, and they soon had a pair of adorable children. Everyone was envious beyond measure. They practically became the model couple. Meanwhile, I died on my way home, knocked unconscious, only to wake up reborn as a newborn baby. Only now have I regained memories of my past life. I clenched the clothes hanger, feeling furious all over again. Why, even after being reborn, did I still end up married to Ethan? And why was he so poor the whole time we were together? The moment we divorced, he became rich. Damn it, that kind of luck never comes my way. I lowered my gaze to the basin of men's socks and kicked it away. I even washed his socks. To hell with that. Ethan heard the commotion, holding a bowl of instant pasta with a bewildered look. When I saw him, my eyes burned with irritation. I walked straight into the living room and smashed his SpongeBob SquarePants mug. With a loud crack, it shattered across the floor, spilling the unfinished water inside. Ethan immediately put down the food in his hand in a panic. "Sarah, what has gotten into you? This is my cup." Of course I knew it was his cup. I had made it myself and given it to him as a birthday present. I glared at him fiercely. "I want a divorce." The words froze Ethan instantly. He ran a hand through his hair, leaving it sticking up like a bird's nest. Ethan was wearing a white tank top, his muscles bulging all over. He struggled to suppress the unease in his heart. "Honey, don't be like this. We just got married yesterday." I said calmly, "I got nothing from marrying you, not even a decent house or wedding." The house was rented, the wedding was slapdash, and the reception was paid for with borrowed money. Ethan took a deep breath and said earnestly, "Give me some time. Everything you deserve will come." Give him time, I asked. By the time he actually makes money, he'll have long been spending it on other women. Suddenly Ethan knelt down. His knees were surprisingly pliant, but his gaze remained unyielding. I instinctively took a step back. He said stiffly, "I'm sorry. Since you found out, I might as well tell you everything." I looked at him with confusion, wondering what kind of excuse he could come up with. Yet I never expected him to confess to something that had been troubling me all along. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have lied to you. Actually, I was the one stealing the cherry tomatoes from the balcony." I took a deep breath. No wonder the tomatoes kept disappearing. I thought it was stolen by birds. I even put up bird nets. Turns out it was Ethan who'd been stealing all along. Seeing my silence, Ethan stole a glance at me, then mustered his courage to confess carefully. "And that little camisole of yours, I was the one who stretched it out of shape, not the golden retriever. I was just curious how such a tiny thing could even be worn." Ethan's voice grew smaller and smaller, his head nearly touching the ground. My fists had long been clenched, itching to smash his stupid head in. "Ethan, do you have any idea how much that shirt cost me? I spent over $50 on it, money I had to pinch to save, and now it's stretched out of shape. I thought our dog had ruined it." At first Ethan stiffened his neck and retorted, "Didn't I buy you a new one already?" "A new one is a new one. This was something I bought with my own money." Hearing Ethan's excuses made my head ache, and I punched him right in the eye socket. Ethan didn't dodge in time, shouting loudly, "Sarah, how could you hit your own husband? People really do change. Once you've won someone over, you stop loving them. What happened to the vows we made at our wedding?" I wanted to ask Ethan why he was so determined to divorce me. If it weren't for the fact that he married Stella much later, I would have thought he was cheating on me. I looked at Ethan's innocent yet stubborn face and punched him again. Perfectly symmetrical. Now, Ethan let out an earth-shattering howl, continuously condemning my actions. "I just ate your cherry tomatoes and stretched out your clothes, and you treat me like this." I turned expressionlessly to rummage through the wardrobe. It was filled entirely with my clothes, all affordable pieces that couldn't compare to the haute couture Ethan had bought for Stella in our past life, but these were all that the present Ethan could afford to give me. I pulled out the shirt Ethan had given me as an apology and threw it at him. "Put it on again for me." I couldn't fathom how Ethan had ever conceived the idea of wearing my clothes. Ethan stood 188 meters tall with broad shoulders and narrow waist, long legs and arms thicker than my thighs. So how could he have thought of trying to wear my little camisole? Ethan hesitantly took off his tank top, revealing his toned upper body, every muscle perfectly defined. I swallowed hard against my will, my gaze shifting away awkwardly. He casually tried to put on the camisole, but only managed to get his head through it. Wouldn't he go any further? He looked at me like a wronged little wife, his expression utterly comical. No more sleeves at LL stretch out. I nearly laughed, but suppressed at the thought of divorce lingering persistently in my mind. Since future events were bound to happen, surely reliving my life wouldn't alter their course. Here I was again, Ethan, and I had met once more, fallen in love again, and married all over again. If I had regained my memories earlier, I would have avoided him and prevented the tragedy. Rather than waiting for divorce, it's better to end it now. Ethan, it's over between us. Ethan's eyes turned cold as he stood up from the floor. Sarah, take those words back. I won't allow you to say such things. I stared at him, my eyes reddening. No, I want a divorce from you. I struggled to hold back my emotions, refusing to let myself break down. The grievances from my past life kept crushing me relentlessly. I desperately wanted to ask why, only to realize later that Ethan never cared about the answer. There was no reason. He simply didn't love me anymore. I won't agree to this. If you think I'm poor and want a bigger house, I can work harder. Just wait for me. Everything will be better in a year. Ethan nervously corrected himself. No, just 6 months. Ethan pulled off his tank top. From now on, I won't let you wear clothes that cost just tens of dollars. You can wear any luxury brand you want. Stop joking around, okay? If these words came from someone else's mouth, it might sound like empty promises, but I know Ethan can actually deliver. Just not for me. I'm just the cannon fodder ex-wife from his low period. Do whatever you want. We'll get divorced sooner or later anyway. Ethan took a deep breath, his expression visibly darkening. I knew he was angry. Ethan's entire body tensed as he suppressed his emotions. I'm going out for a while. Stay home and behave. I laughed inwardly. Where could Ethan possibly go? It's his day off today. With a cold expression, Ethan turned and left. I stood in the living room for a long time before remembering the laundry still needed to be hung on the balcony. In the end, I still hung Ethan's socks out to dry. The rented apartment may be small, but it has everything, and I've decorated it to be very cozy. This isn't Ethan's fault. It's South, already the best place he can afford to rent right now. He gave all the money in his hands to his good friend, because his friend got into a fight and injured someone owing a lot of money. Yet I couldn't offer any help. My own family was full of troublesome relatives. I don't regret marrying Ethan because he shielded me from so much trouble. They wouldn't dare provoke Ethan. What chilled me was how quickly people could change. Divorce was mentioned so abruptly without even an explanation. As evening approached, Ethan still hadn't returned. Growing uneasy, I went to look for him. After some reflection, I realized my sudden demand for divorce had been too hasty. No one wants to get divorced right after getting married. I found Ethan in the pool table area of a bar. He was sitting on the floor, not playing, just drinking endlessly. His brothers were all keeping him company. Walking through the main door, I saw several heads with brightly dyed hair huddled together, whispering about me. That woman needs to be disciplined. Spoiling her is useless. Ethan, don't be sad. You should just ignore her and let her realize her mistake. How dare she ask for a divorce and even hit you? If she dares to hit you today, she'll dare to kill you tomorrow. You must make her understand her wrongdoing. Ethan, who always acted tough in front of his friends, suddenly whimpered, I don't want to divorce her. The group exchanged glances, realizing they said the wrong thing. Buddy, how did you and your wife end up fighting? There must be a reason. Ethan buried his head in his arms, sobbing, because I stole her cherry tomatoes and stretched out her clothes. The brothers exclaimed in unison, that's way too much. How could you steal with your build? How could you even fit into her clothes? You should compensate her. Leaning against the doorframe, I listened with amusement. It's no use, Ethan said with reddened eyes. She thinks I'm useless because I'm broke. The brothers looked gloomy and worried. Ethan, to be honest, although you're good looking, you don't have a degree and can't afford a decent bride price. Even birds need to build a nest first. If I were a woman, I wouldn't marry you either. Ethan immediately retorted, if you were a woman, no man would want you. They started arguing fiercely, with tensions escalating towards a physical fight. Me, I couldn't help but cough dryly, and one of them noticed me first. I think his name is Leo. Leo turned pale, with fright, frantically making eye signals at Ethan. Ethan remained unaware, still arguing with them about which gender would want which. I called out Ethan. The moment they saw me, they immediately scattered and huddled in the corner. As if I were some kind of great villain, Ethan stood there helplessly, his face cold as he stared at the ground, saying coolly, what are you doing here? I stared at the liquor bottles on the floor. Ethan noticed my gaze and immediately tensed up. I'm not drunk, just had a few drinks, Ethan said, uneasily glancing at his useless buddies behind him, the same ones who had just been indignantly saying women needed to be taught a lesson. Now that trouble had come, they all ran faster than anyone else. He panicked and said, I won't drink anymore. Feeling embarrassed, he muttered in self-defense, it's normal for men to drink a little. I raised my hand and smacked the back of his head. Ethan instinctively covered his head. Sarah, what are you doing? I won't indulge you like this in public. I gave him a long, deep look, then turned and walked away. Ethan panicked instantly. I'm sorry, can I apologize to you? Please don't go. Ethan strode after me while his buddies behind him exchanged knowing looks. Leo spoke up. Ethan's really whipped. How the moment sis-in-law walked in, she just called his name without doing anything, and look how flustered he got. Ethan followed me out the door, desperately explaining until his face turned red. Sweetheart, are you even listening to me? Sweetheart was the pet name Ethan gave me. I wasn't originally named Sarah. I changed it as an adult because I didn't want to live like a weed. I spun around abruptly, and Ethan nearly collided with me. Sweetheart, don't be angry. I'll keep my promise to you. You never used to mind me drinking before. I said softly, if you want to drink, then drink. There's nothing wrong with that. Ethan frowned. Can you stop speaking with that sarcastic tone? It makes me very uncomfortable. I found it strange. In the past, I used to keep a tight rein on Ethan, and he always complained about having no freedom. Now that I've stopped controlling him, Ethan says I'm being sarcastic and that it makes him uncomfortable. You wanted freedom, didn't you? I'm giving it to you. Ethan panicked. I don't want freedom. Can't you just scold me like before? What's wrong with you? This isn't fair to me at all. I opened my mouth. What could I possibly say? That Ethan would ask me for a divorce in the future. That he'd marry another woman, have children with her, 2 of them, while I'd die alone in some back alley. Would Ethan even believe me? He didn't believe it at all. Now, Ethan whispered, Sarah, if I've done something wrong, I can change. Don't be so cruel to me. Hearing this, my eyes instantly reddened. The words stuck in my throat, felt dry and powerless. I couldn't help but hold Ethan tighter, pressing my forehead against his chest as tears streamed down uncontrollably. Ethan saw this and grew slightly flustered. He didn't know what was wrong with his Sarah. He only knew she was hurting because of him. I will keep my promise. I will be good to you even if it costs me my life. Ethan was proud and had a difficult personality, but there was one thing: he always kept the promises he made to Sarah. On the way back, I calmed myself down. In the end, I couldn't bring myself to be cold to Ethan. I decided to wait a little longer. Since we were already married, and since we still loved each other, I needed to figure out the root of our past life's issues. It was the wisest course of action. Tears welled up in my eyes again. Ethan reached out to catch them, looking down at me as he whispered, I'll buy us a house, so we can have a home. Home, what a beautiful word. In my past life, I had it all only to lose everything. Ethan, have you ever considered that you might not be able to do it? No, I can do it. Ethan's eyes were bright, unusually so, in the cramped stairwell. It was as if he didn't belong here, as if one day he would fly away from this poor place. I laughed through my tears, which kept flowing. Then I'll wait for that day to come. From that day on, Ethan changed, though he remained as stubborn and deceitful as before. I could sense the difference in him. He became even stingier with himself. He quit smoking, stopped drinking, and gave up playing pool. Day in and day out, I didn't know what I was doing. When I came back at night, I'd collapse onto the bed, clutching me tightly, as if that could somehow restore me. I found myself a job working at a supermarket for $2,000 a month. Ethan never used to let me work before, thinking it would make me suffer. I thought it's time for me to change too. I can't just keep obeying blindly. Ethan found out about this and came riding over on his motorcycle with his brothers. The supermarket owner's wife turned pale at the sight and immediately shouted, What do you want? If you're here to cause trouble, I'll call the police. Ethan walked straight up to me without hesitation. Sarah, why are you putting yourself through this? I replied in confusion. I'm making money here. Don't interfere with my work. I turned to the proprietress and said, This is my husband. The proprietress instantly relaxed, but still stood at a distance, watching us warily. Ethan suppressed his anger, swallowing back the harsh words in his mouth. Leo spoke up. Sis-in-law, you should just leave with brother Ethan. He earns $8,000 a month. Buying a house isn't just a dream. I suddenly turned to look at him. Did you steal or rob someone? I remembered. He only made $3,000 a month. Ethan laughed. Neither. I changed jobs. What kind of job? I asked warily. Ethan answered vaguely. Just working as a security guard. What kind of security guard pays that well? Even 10 years later there wouldn't be security guards making $8,000 a month. I'm serious, Ethan. Don't lie to me, I said sternly. Ethan immediately faltered, but still insisted stubbornly. Oh, come on, don't ask anymore. As long as we can make money, that's all that matters. My gaze shifted to his group of buddies behind him, each one nervously avoiding eye contact. Leo, you tell me, I demanded. Leo quickly corrected me. Sis-in-law, my name is Leo Shaw. I suddenly felt embarrassed. I'd actually gotten his name wrong. I calmly said, hurry up and tell me. Leo shivered and replied, well, Ethan met a big shot. Ethan sighed irritably. Fine, I'll say, and I'm just a bouncer at an underground casino making $8,000 a month. It's not that much, but I can make big money later. I suddenly remembered the street casino that would be shut down in 2 years due to drug issues, and later for some reason even the boss got arrested. I didn't even think about it before saying quit. Why? Ethan got agitated. I'm not quitting. It's not easy to find such a high-paying job. Why should I quit? My voice rose slightly. That's a casino. How safe can security work be? What if you get into danger? Ethan laughed. So you're worried about me? Don't worry. What danger would a grown man like me be afraid of? Leo chimed in. Yeah, Ethan's doing this for your bright future together. No, you have to choose between this job and me. Ethan looked displeased. Sarah, you're being too domineering. You can't act like this. I haven't even mentioned you sneaking off to work yet. I work because I want to work, and it's not even dangerous. What you're doing is unacceptable. Ethan said angrily. Why is it that I can't? But you can. Women are so unreasonable. Don't I work for this family? And you keep bringing up. Ethan couldn't continue. He was afraid I'd bring up divorce again. Ethan, there's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. I'd rather you be poorer, as long as you're safe and sound. This was true. Ethan's lips almost twitched into a smile. He coughed for a long time, but couldn't muster a proper response. Every time we argue, he never wins against me, so go resign today. I patted Ethan's shoulder, then bent down to start organizing the goods. But this time Ethan was unusually insistent. No, I can't quit this job. He needs to save money. He wants to give Sarah a good life, and won't let anyone look down on her. Whatever others have, Sarah must have too. I clicked my tongue in annoyance. Ethan, are you disobeying me now? I'm a man. Why should I listen to a woman? I raised my hand to slap him, but seeing Leo and the others watching like they were eating melons, I immediately couldn't bring myself to do it. I still had a save face for him. I could only say coldly, Ethan, don't make me slap you. Ethan was instantly frightened. He could still remember the beating from not long ago. It was so embarrassing when he had to go around with that black eye. At a loss for words, Leo, make sure he resigns. After he quits, I'll treat you all to pizza. Leo immediately nodded, happily grinning from ear to ear. You got it, sis-in-law. The others chimed in eagerly. Sis-in-law, we want some too. Ethan was fuming. These fair weather friends, fine. As long as he resigns, each of you gets a large portion. Ethan's brothers instantly switched sides. Bro, Ethan, just listen to sis-in-law. The money is good, but it's dangerous. Plus you only get $300 a month for pocket money. We can barely ask you for help and have to rely on sis-in-law instead. Ethan was so furious, his teeth nearly shattered from gritting. Whose fault is it that you grown men can't earn money? Now look at you, bought off by a pizza. Leo said miserably, no one wants to hire us. I've got tattoos, and last time at the restaurant I scared a kid so bad they got fired for it. I glanced at them. Some had tattoos, even on their faces. Their hair dyed in all sorts of colors, every one of them looking like street thugs. Only Ethan was clean cut with a neat buzz cut that showed off his handsome features. Just because I didn't like dyed hair or tattoos, he never followed the trend. All of you dye your hair back to its natural color and get those tattoos removed. Leo groaned. Sis-in-law, just focus on keeping Ethan in line. Leave us out of it, will you? Truth is, they're pretty scared of me after all. In their eyes, even Ethan, who is crazy good at fighting, gets completely tamed by me. Terrifying, really. If you want decent jobs and people's respect, you'll listen to me. Leo and the others were clearly tempted, but this seemed like way too much trouble. Originally, they were just social outcasts living day by day. I suddenly remembered in my past life, after divorcing Ethan, I had no further contact with these people. In the end, I never found out what happened to Leo, and the others, they never appeared by Ethan's side anyway. Ethan whispered, listen to Sarah, when the boss speaks, the underlings dare not disobey. The cost of dyeing hair and removing tattoos naturally came out of my own pocket. All the money was earned by Ethan. Actually, he made quite a bit and basically gave it all to me and spent it on these brothers. I never resented spending money on these people. After all, they helped Ethan a lot. They were truly brothers who de-risked their lives for him. Back when Ethan accidentally fell from the second floor at the construction site and I couldn't come up with the money, it was they who sold their blood to cover his medical expenses. Ethan didn't quit his job. He couldn't bear to lose the money and wanted to work a few more months before resigning. A faint unease grew in my heart and I tried persuading him every day. But Ethan remained unmoved. In the end, disaster struck. When I arrived, his head was covered in blood, his entire body radiating terrifying fury. I was about to run toward him when I noticed the person he was shielding behind his back. Stella Vance. My heart suddenly clenched. So, they'd already crossed paths at this point. Stella was dressed expensively, exuding the aura of a pampered young lady. She angrily shouted, how dare you hit someone? Do you even know who I am? I'm telling my father. My feet seemed glued to the ground, unable to take a single step forward. Ethan spotted me in an instant, then turned his head away, pretending not to know me. The leader with the yellow hair sneered, your dad. Who the hell cares who your dad is? You come to this turf without even asking who's in charge. Ethan, come here. Ethan heard my voice, his eyes flickering with panic. He shook his head at me. I rolled my eyes. Do you really think pretending not to know me will keep me out of danger? The blonde guy spotted me and grinned. Hey, look at this pretty little thing. Who beat up my husband? Me. What about it? Serves him right for playing the hero to save the damsel in distress. I picked up the broom beside me and whacked him hard on the head. Ethan widened his eyes in shock. Sarah, what are you doing? I pinned the blonde guy beneath me, relentlessly striking him. I can't even bring myself to hit him, and you dare lay a hand on him. The punk yelped like a kicked dog as I twisted his ear and slapped him a dozen times in quick succession. No one dared stop me. Ethan stood guard nearby, ready to kick anyone who tried to intervene. In the end, it was the boss who arrived and stopped me. Ethan wiped the blood from his face and quickly said, my wife doesn't know any better. Please don't take offense. The boss was a big man. ID estimate. He weighed over 100 kilograms. At this moment, Stella was hiding fearfully behind Ethan, clutching his clothes with both hands. Ethan shoved him aside without a second thought, stepping protectively in front of me. Little girl, this is a casino. You can't cause trouble here. Do you have any idea how much money you're costing us in a single day? I replied calmly and firmly, that punk beat up Ethan. There's no way I'm letting him off the hook. Since I was a kid, I've been in more fights than I can count, reckless to the bone, always ready to throw down. It was only after meeting Ethan that the fights became fewer. The boss immediately burst into laughter. How about both of you young lovebirds work for me? Ethan immediately breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing this. Boss, please don't. Sarah can't handle it. The boss immediately said, I was asking Sarah, not you. I said bluntly, I don't want to do it, and Ethan won't be doing it anymore either. I'm taking him to get his wounds treated now. Boss, thank you for taking care of Ethan these past few months. Just a heads up, keep an eye on your people. I could tell the boss was an easygoing person, otherwise he would have made things difficult for me the moment I showed up. Although the drug incident happened 2 years later, it's still something to be mindful of. Ethan lowered his gaze at me, knowing he couldn't win against my stubbornness. He simply said, boss, I'm sorry, but I have to resign. The boss smiled. No problem. I don't force people to do what they don't want. I pulled him to leave when Stella suddenly spoke up. Ethan, what about me? Ethan frowned. Do I know you? Stella looked embarrassed. I came looking for you. How could you not know me? I glanced at Ethan. Friend? No, just someone I met on the street earlier. She didn't have money for the fare and borrowed 100 from me. Now she's here to return it. I don't even know her name. And then this happened. The blood on Ethan's face had already dried, suppressing my emotions. I pulled him out of the casino. Ethan's wound needed stitches. He gritted his teeth in pain, holding me tightly without making a sound. You refused to quit when I told you to. Who's to blame? Ethan laughed. I've earned over 100,000 these past few months. Not bad at all. I rolled my eyes. Leo and the others found jobs at an auto repair shop, 4,000 a month with room and board. I smiled faintly. That's good, Sarah, you're so kind. Looking into those clear, transparent eyes, I couldn't help but smile helplessly. Ethan suddenly pulled out a ring box from his pocket. I bought a small one first, just 2 carats. I'll get you a bigger one later. I stared at the diamond ring, emotions churning inside me. Ethan, I really don't care about these things. I was just joking that day. If I cared, I wouldn't have married Ethan in the first place. Ethan recklessly slipped the ring onto my ring finger. Your hands are so beautiful. What a shame not to wear rings. Our previous wedding ring was a silver band worth just a few hundred yuan. I stopped wearing it after I mentioned divorce. I knew exactly what Ethan was up to. Ethan, are you okay? Now Stella came running over in her little heels, her face full of anxiety. Ethan pulled away from my embrace and said politely, it's all right now. Stella handed him a stack of cash. This is for you, your payment. No need. Ethan couldn't understand why this woman kept coming to see him. He was getting annoyed. Ethan, it's fine, you deserve this. Look at how much you've suffered. Ethan gasped sharply. No, who are you? You're being so weird. Stella's eyes instantly reddened. Ethan, I'm doing this for your own good. Why don't you come work for my father? It's better than staying here. I couldn't get a word in edgewise, feeling extremely strange about the whole situation. I knew Ethan well. When he disliked someone, that dislike would last forever. Could he and Stella really fall in love after marriage? My memory seems to be playing tricks on me. But perhaps Stella is special. Stella gently tugged at Ethan's sleeve, and Ethan was completely annoyed. Hey lady, who are you? Why are you touching me? I'm a married man. Tears welled up in Stella's eyes as she blurted out irrationally, Ethan, you'll divorce her sooner or later. Ethan's eyes were fierce with malice, as if he wanted to devour Stella alive. What did you say? My wife, and I will never divorce in this lifetime. Stella seemed frightened, her face turning pale. I looked at her in shock. How did she know Ethan and I would divorce? Could she also be reborn? Get out right now. Clutching her bag in grief, and Stella turned and ran away in tears. Ethan looked flustered. Don't listen to her nonsense. I nodded absently. Okay, I'll go pay the medical fees first. Wait here for me. I wanted to get to the bottom of this. Sure enough, Stella was already waiting for me outside. With reddened eyes, she said stubbornly, Sarah, you're not right for him. I'm his destined female lead. I played dumb. What do you mean? Ethan is the son of the Clark family. He is about to be taken back, and Ethan needs a wife from an equal social standing to help him establish his position in the family. Can the bankrupt Vance family really help him establish his position? I expressed doubt. Who are you? Stella was dropping too much information at once. Stella insisted stubbornly, anyway, I'm his true female lead. We'll have 2 children in the future and live happily ever after. You're just a cannon fodder, supporting character, a mere paper figure unworthy of being with the male lead. Damn, this makes me wonder, could Stella be an outsider? I knew I was living inside a book. These words confirmed it. Stella is a transmigrator. Ethan suddenly spoke up. Who do you think you are? How dare you judge us? I turned around abruptly and instinctively walked over to Ethan's side. Stella showed a flustered expression. Ethan, it's not what you think. I'm the female lead. You're the male lead. We're destined to be together. Bullshit. Sarah and I are the ones who are destined. Ethan gripped my hand tightly, clearly furious. What a ridiculous, crazy woman. If he'd known earlier, he wouldn't have lent her money. That was 1/3 of his living expenses. God knows how much resolve it had taken him to make that decision. Ended up meeting a disgusting ingrate who dared to come ruin his family. Ethan pulled me away, his face dark as thunder. Leo and the others arrived late bringing gifts. Ethan, did you and your wife have another fight? Ethan's expression turned even darker. We didn't fight. Are you blind? I smiled helplessly as Leo quickly handed me the fruit basket. Sis-in-law, you talk some sense into him. Though they didn't know what had happened, the situation seemed quite serious judging by the atmosphere. When we reached a secluded spot, Ethan released my hand and said earnestly, Sarah, don't listen to her nonsense. What male lead or female lead were the perfect match. What if what she said is true? Ethan's breath hitched. What do you mean? Don't tell me you believe her instead of me. I closed my eyes and gripped his hand tightly. No, listen to me first. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to be separated from you, Ethan. I came back from the future. Disbelief filled Ethan's eyes, as if all the unease of these days had finally found its cause. I was reborn. I only regained my memories a few months ago. In our past life, you divorced me. You were the one who filed for it. Ethan gasped. That's impossible. Nothing is impossible. Sarah, I love you deeply. You mean more to me than life itself. How could I possibly divorce you? There must be another reason. I continued. You married Stella, had a son and daughter together while I was knocked unconscious and died in some alley. These words were undoubtedly stabbing Ethan right in the heart. He covered his chest, his eyes reddened, and finally shed tears in front of me. It's impossible. It's impossible. Ethan, couldn't he accept it? Ethan cried like a child, slowly kneeling before me. Sarah, I won't hurt you. These words seemed particularly feeble in the face of reality. I have a feeling that in his previous life, Ethan suddenly became very wealthy in a short period of time. It must have been the Clarks who found him. That was the time when he divorced me. I said softly, Ethan, let us talk about it later. On the way back, we were unusually calm. When we reached the door, Ethan suddenly said, Sarah, do you trust me? I looked at him and nodded. That person wasn't me. I stared blankly with wide eyes. What did this mean? If the book world you're talking about truly exists, then the person who hurt you definitely wasn't me. I know very clearly that I love you deeply. Without you, I couldn't go on living. To be precise, it was only because of Sarah that his life didn't continue in that muddled, aimless state. His adoptive father passed away before he reached adulthood. Without money to continue his education, he had to take odd jobs, often because he was underage. Bosses would deliberately shortchange his wages. They wouldn't say anything beforehand, but afterward, he'd bring people to cause trouble and demand the money. It was during this time that he met Sarah, love at first sight on the street, and for the first time, he tasted the bitterness of inferiority. Winning Sarah's heart was the happiest thing in his life. Because of Sarah, he had a home again. I suddenly cupped Ethan's face in my hand, studying it intently. If Stella could transmigrate into a book, could Ethan have had his soul swapped out? The Ethan who initiated the divorce that day was too abrupt. One moment, he was telling me jokes, the next he suddenly brought up divorce. I wanted to figure it out, but couldn't he get hold of Ethan? Besides, Ethan would never ignore his brothers. I told him my thoughts and whispered Stella is a transmigrator. Ethan cursed, damn, your guess might be right. Let us wait until your biological parents come looking for you first, I said Ethan, and I waited and waited, and by next week they were knocking on our door. Mr. and Mrs. Clark were dressed in luxurious clothes. When they saw Ethan, they choked up with emotion. My child, you've suffered so much these years. I turned to look at Ethan and found him visibly uncomfortable. Mrs. Clark sobbed quietly for a while before asking who I was. Ethan spoke up. My wife, Mrs. Clark, hastily handed me a thick envelope. So you're my daughter-in-law, so beautiful, sitting next to my son. You make him look blacker than coal. I glanced at the difference between Ethan's complexion and mine. Actually, he wasn't that dark, just a healthy tan, really. Ethan shoved the envelope into my hand. It seemed the Clarks were even kinder than I'd imagined. At least they treated Ethan well. In the middle of the night, Ethan hugged me and said they want us to leave this place and move in with them. I patted his arm gently. Whatever you say. After all, they were his parents. But why do I feel so uneasy? Ethan touched his chest. What if that other me suddenly takes control of my body? When did we get divorced in that so-called past life? In 6 months, all the timelines matched up. Let us sleep now. Don't think about it anymore. All right. Ethan held me tighter uneasily. He thought to himself that if he discovered he had mistreated Sarah, he'd kill him. I curled up in Ethan's arms, unable to sleep with my mind full of worries. If Ethan and I are both right in our suspicions, what should I do? I can't just let Ethan be replaced by someone else. Ethan temporarily declined the Clark's offer, and they didn't complain at all. Instead, they simply bought the apartment across from ours and started visiting us daily. I haven't quit my job at the supermarket yet, and Ethan has found a new job. I was at work when the casino boss suddenly came to me with a thick stack of cash. Little sister, it's all thanks to you, otherwise I'd be done for. Only then did I learn that the boss had discovered some of his people were dirty. They'd actually been dealing drugs. Running a casino could be managed with some greasing of palms, passing it off as a mahjong parlor where authorities could turn a blind eye, but drug dealing, that was a whole different story. I was forced to accept the boss's money, and somehow the funds for buying a house were mysteriously covered. That very day, Ethan and I bought a new home together, then took Leo and the others out for a celebratory meal. I never expected Leo and the others would use their salaries to buy me a designer bag, a whopping $700. Sis-in-law, it's all thanks to you guys. We'd never have such a good life otherwise. We heard all women love this bag. Ethan smiled and said take it. Stella came looking for Ethan several times, but he grew so annoyed that he had Leo and the others pretend to be thugs and scare her off. Life kept getting better. The Clarks tried to give Ethan money, but he refused. They didn't dare push too hard. After so many years apart, feelings needed to develop gradually. Things had changed. Perhaps what happened in the past life wouldn't repeat itself. I finally let go of my worries and focused on building a life with Ethan. A few months later, news of the Vance family's bankruptcy appeared on TV. I glanced at it briefly and didn't pay much attention. Ethan had saved up enough money to open a shop. Ethan started suggesting that I quit my job to become the shop's proprietress. I agreed eagerly. Then one night, Ethan suddenly woke up in the middle of the night and held me tightly. Sarah, don't leave me. His voice trembled with fear. Ethan, I won't leave you. Even these words couldn't ease his tension. I asked softly, what's wrong? Did you have a nightmare? Ethan nodded, his face showing genuine vulnerability. My heart ached unbearably for him. I dreamed you died, and I was the one who killed you. I looked at him in confusion. To be precise, it wasn't Ethan. Ethan said slowly, it was someone from another world to completely erase my existence. He killed you, but he never expected that in my despair I'd take matters into my own hands and slit my own throat. Darling, everything you're saying is true, but he has gone now. No one can interfere with our happiness anymore. I clenched the clothes hanger tightly, anger rising in me again. So that's why Ethan wanted a divorce. That's why he cut ties with his old friends. I've guessed some truths you've been conscious all along. Ethan nodded. Yes, I was suffocated by the intruder, forced to watch as he mistreated you. That person even used his body to marry and have children with someone else. Was he really the male lead? This is ridiculous. After the male lead died, the world collapsed and rebuilt itself. That person completely dissipated, and the world suffered such heavy losses it dared not interfere again. From then on, no one could take residence within him to harm his beloved. Ethan had been in low spirits for several days. Turns out I wasn't the only one who had been reborn. After coaxing him for several consecutive days, I ran out of patience. All right, Ethan, I'm not blaming you. Stop making that guilty face. This makes me feel guilty too. After all, I did blame him. Sighs. Soon Ethan returned to his usual annoying self. I was busy in the shop for a long time. Bored, I scrolled through my phone and suddenly came across someone else's video. The person in it was actually Stella. She was being restrained by several people, missing a shoe on her foot. Let me go. I'm the female lead. I'm the chosen one. My husband is Ethan Clark. He is super rich. Go ask him for money. Like a complete lunatic, my brows furrowed deeply as customers entered the shop. Just then, I set my phone aside and promptly forgot about the whole matter. Who cares about wealth and status when family safety matters most? All I want is for Ethan and me to stay well and be happy together forever. The end.